The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and silence, the kind that presses against your chest until breathing feels like work. Daniel Carter sat on the cold metal bench outside room 714, his elbows resting on his knees, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles had turned white. He was still wearing his delivery uniform, faded blue shirt, company logo peeling at the edges because he hadn't had time to go home. When the call came, he had dropped everything. Some things in life don't wait for comfort. Through the narrow glass panel of the door, he could see the little girl, Lily Monroe, 8 years old, frail, still. Machines hummed softly around her hospital bed, blinking lights doing the work her small body struggled to do on its own. Her legs lay unmoving beneath the thin blanket, muscles weakened by a condition no amount of money had been able to cure. Spinal nerve damage, congenital, permanent. The doctors had said, using that word like a locked door. Permanent. Daniel swallowed hard. He had heard that word before. 5 years ago, when doctors told him his wife would never wake up after the accident. When they told him he was now a single father. Permanent had become a shadow that followed him everywhere. The door opened quietly. A woman stepped out, tall and elegant even in exhaustion. Her black coat looked like it belonged in boardrooms, not hospital halls. But her face told a different story. Red-rimmed eyes, lips trembling as she tried to hold herself together. Sophia Monroe, billionaire, tech empire founder, one of the most powerful women in the country. And right now, just a mother who was breaking. She looked at Daniel, surprise flickering across her face. "You came," she said softly. He stood immediately. Of course. For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them carried years of unspoken history, of crossed paths that never should have met. Sophia exhaled shakily. "The doctors say Lily's condition is stable. But they also said we shouldn't expect improvement." Daniel nodded slowly. He had expected that. "She asked for you," Sophia added, her voice cracking. She said, "Where's the man who makes broken things work again?" Daniel closed his eyes. That was Lily. 3 months ago, their worlds had collided by accident. Daniel had been delivering a broken wheelchair to the Monroe estate, one of dozens he repaired and customized for disabled kids through a charity workshop he ran out of his garage. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't rich. He was just a man who fixed things because fixing things felt like hope. Lily had been watching him that day, curiosity shining brighter than the sun in her eyes. "Can you fix legs too?" she had asked. Everyone had frozen. Sophia had rushed to stop the conversation, apologizing. Embarrassed, but Daniel had crouched down to Lily's level and smiled. "I can't fix legs," he had said honestly, "but sometimes I can help them remember how to work." Something in Lily's face had changed that day, like a candle being lit. Now here they were. Sophia gestured toward the room. "She wants to see you." "But Daniel, I need you to understand something." He met her gaze. "If this hurts her, if this gives her false hope, I won't forgive myself." Daniel didn't hesitate. "I would never hurt her." Inside the room, Lily's eyes fluttered open the moment Daniel stepped in. "Mr. Fix-It," she whispered, a small smile tugging at her lips. He walked over, his heart tightening. "Hey, superstar." Sophia watched from the doorway as Daniel knelt beside the bed. Not as a miracle worker, not as a savior, but as a father who understood pain. Daniel gently placed a small device on the bedside table. It looked simple, straps, sensors, wires, but Sophia's sharp eyes recognized precision. "What is that?" she asked. Daniel took a breath. "It's something I've been working on for years. I never intended to use it like this. It's unfinished, experimental." Sophia stiffened. "Then why bring it?" "Because Lily doesn't need promises," Daniel said quietly. "She needs possibility." Lily frowned slightly. "Will it hurt?" Daniel shook his head. "No, and if you say stop, we stop. You're the boss." She smiled again. As Daniel carefully adjusted the device around Lily's legs, memories flooded his mind. Long nights soldering circuits after his son fell asleep. Failed prototypes, broken hopes. He had built this not for money, not for fame, but for one day like this. Sophia's hands trembled as she clasped them together. "Daniel," she whispered. Doctors from 5 countries have tried—" "I know," he said gently. "I'm not replacing them. I'm just trying something different." The room fell silent. Daniel activated the device. At first, nothing happened. Then, Lily's toes twitched. Just barely, but enough. Sophia gasped, a sharp intake of breath as tears spilled freely down her face. "No," she whispered. "That's not possible." Lily's eyes widened. "Mom!" Daniel's voice shook. "Lily, can you try to think about moving your foot?" Seconds passed. Then her foot moved again. Clear this time. Sophia collapsed into the chair behind her, sobbing openly, her billionaire armor shattering in an instant. The machines continued to hum. The world outside continued as normal. But inside room 7, a miracle had just taken its first breath, and this was only the beginning. The moment Lily's foot moved, the world Sophia Monroe had lived in for 8 long years cracked wide open. She had stood in boardrooms worth more than small countries, negotiated deals that shaped futures, stared down rivals without blinking, but nothing had prepared her for this. Tears streamed freely now, unstoppable as she pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from crying, out loud and frightening her daughter. Daniel remained kneeling beside the bed, his own eyes glossy, his breath shallow as if he feared that breathing too hard might undo what had just happened. Lily stared at her foot like it belonged to someone else, then looked back at Daniel with a mixture of awe and fear, as though miracles were beautiful but fragile things that might disappear if touched. "Did I do that?" she asked softly. Daniel nodded. "You did," he replied. "Your body remembered." That word, remembered, hit Sophia harder than any medical term she had ever heard. Doctors had told her Lily's nerves were damaged beyond repair, that her body would never remember. And yet here it was, happening right in front of her. Nurses rushed in after Sophia's sobs echoed into the hall, followed by a young doctor who froze mid-step when he saw the monitor readings and Lily's leg shifting slightly beneath the blanket. Questions poured in, voices overlapping, disbelief thick in the air. But Daniel calmly deactivated the device and stepped back. "That's enough for today," he said gently. More to protect Lily than to explain himself. Lily looked almost disappointed. "But it was working," she whispered. Daniel smiled softly. "Miracles don't run," he said. "They walk slowly, so they don't fall." Over the next days, word spread through the hospital like wildfire. Specialists demanded explanations. Administrators requested meetings. Some praised Daniel cautiously. Others openly challenged him, calling it coincidence, muscle reflex, placebo. Sophia heard it all, but for the first time in years, their opinions no longer owned her heart. She watched Lily smile more, laugh more, try again and again to move her toes, her feet, her legs. Tiny progress, yes, but progress that medicine had sworn was impossible. One evening, as rain streaked the windows and Lily slept peacefully, Sophia finally asked the question that had been burning inside her. "Why?" she said quietly to Daniel, who sat across from her in the dim hospital room. "Why you? Why this?" Daniel looked down at his hands, scarred and rough from years of labor. "Because my son couldn't walk either," he said. Sophia's breath caught. Daniel told her everything then. The accident that took his wife, the diagnosis that crushed him, the nights he spent holding his crying child, promising help he didn't yet know how to give. He spoke of teaching himself mechanics and electronics, of building braces from scrap, of failing 100 times. "My son took his first steps with a device like that," Daniel said, his voice thick. "He runs now, plays soccer, doesn't even remember the chair." Sophia covered her face, shoulders shaking as she finally understood the depth of the man, kneeling before her daughter, not a miracle worker sent by fate, but a father forged by pain. The days turned into weeks. Lily's progress continued, slow but undeniable. Then came the backlash. Medical boards demanded trials. Lawyers warned Sophia of liability. Investors urged silence, fearing scandal. But Sophia Monroe, the woman who once bowed only to profit, made a different choice. At a press conference watched by millions, she stood beside Daniel and Lily, her voice trembling but strong. "For years," she said, "I believed money could buy anything except hope. This man gave my daughter something no fortune ever could. Cameras flashed as Lily, supported by Daniel's device and holding her mother's hands, stood, shaking, unsteady but standing. The room erupted into tears, applause, disbelief. Sophia broke down completely, falling to her knees and hugging Daniel, whispering over and over, "Thank you, thank you." Months later, Daniel's small garage workshop became a foundation, funded but never owned by Sophia, dedicated to children whose families had nothing but hope. Daniel stayed the same, quiet, humble, present. And Lily walked, not fast, not perfectly, but freely. On the day she took her first steps without the device, she looked at Daniel and said, "You didn't just fix my legs. What did I do then?" he asked. She smiled. "You fixed my future, and if this story moved your heart, remember, miracles are real when kindness meets courage." Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that prove hope still exists, even in the most impossible places.